2nd of September. This is the second day into this new month. We are grateful to God for the far He has taken us. This is the 9th month of this year. So this literally means that we have only 3 months left to end this year. 3 months seems to be big or small, but that is what it is. Here we are with issues at hand. We want to discuss some of those pertinent issues that are happening in our country. Of course, we know that last week the Parliament of Uganda left the building that we have all and always known it in, and they had their presence in Gulu at Kauma grounds, and a lot was said, but on the contrary, some, of course, this came from the leader of opposition, that the opposition members will not attend the parliament, the regional sittings. However, while in Gulu, much as the speaker had said that whatever will be discussed will be benefiting the people of Gulu as a region, northern Uganda as a region, we also saw a bill, someone requesting for leave to go and table a bill that requests the opposition MPs to take part in electing the leader of opposition, contrary to the system that is currently followed, where the majority opposition, the one we would have called the shadow president, has the mandate of appointing the leader of opposition in whom he is pleased. So that is something also to be followed later on. But we want to put our focus today on the role and the impact of these regional sittings. Are they effective? Are they the solutions to the imbalances that we have seen? Are they the answer to the long-staying problems that are existing in these various regions where these regional parliamentary sittings are going to be? Well, with us is Mr. Lwanga, who is the head of documentation and research in Uganda People's Congress. It's a pleasure having you this morning, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. And indeed, it is my first time to be hosted by you.
Yeah, sure.
So, if I feel shy, please don't.
Of course you can't. We've interacted off camera.
Yes, but greetings from UPC Party President, UPC Fraternity at Uganda House, UPC Fraternity in the country, East Africa, Africa, and in the greater diaspora. They are watching, they have alerted them, and they are always very thankful to Church of Uganda and the Family TV for this wonderful consideration of giving an opportunity to us to come out and air our views. It is through dialogue that we can solve most of our problems. It is a pleasure being here this morning.
Wow, we want to now get into our discussion today. We are looking at the regional sittings. Has it been in any history of Uganda where because we look at this as the first of its kind to us in this era, but following the history of Uganda, did it ever happen where the parliament had to get out of that building, apart from going to Kololo for national events, stepping out of that building to go to regions?
And of course the Serena Hotel.
Yeah, and Serena Hotel.
There is a time they alluded to when it was the time of Kadaga and the second, the parliament was taken to Masaka. However, I need to say one or two things in light of that. The regional sitting, much as they have come to be called and to be executed, are conducted while they are representing a very, very bigger problem, not a smaller problem. At the surface of it, you may imagine that once you go to the regions, you will be on the top of the game of knowing these issues. And yet proudly, I can tell you that one of my cardinal responsibilities at my workplace is to head the UPC Ideology School. And within the UPC ideology school, we trace the root causes of all these. Great interest to any Ugandan, whether a legislator, whether a government policy maker, whether a programmer, whether a politician, to know where the root causes of our issues are coming from, even before you march out of our building you have mentioned in Kampala. Where is our root cause of the problems? Okay. It is very important, the deepening social, economic, and political problems. Where is the root cause? Okay. Of course, you are going to see that our problems date back to colonial times. When colonialism stepped in, it decided to drive Uganda in a certain direction. And that direction is clear, though most people today, they pretend that they don't know it. Okay? The country was divided essentially into two parts, the north and the south. The south was supposed to be more developed. The north was supposed to be underdeveloped. Technically what they call a river reserve area. All the facilities in terms of education, health, infrastructure, farming, jobs, okay, were shifted to the south. And the north was left undeveloped, underpopulated, totally neglected. Now, that colonial legacy divided the country into two. And we are embarking on that journey from around 1900. And that journey is getting buttressed as Sir Hesketh introduces cotton. He did not take cotton to the northern Uganda to be experimented. Cotton was best this way. Coffee was best this way. Tea was best this way. The others were simply called in, oh, there is manpower we need in Rugazi and Kachira Sugar Factory. There is manpower we need in King's African Rifles. World War I was erupted. World War II was erupted. Please, can you beef up the forces? Okay? Such that this actual development of schools of what did not take place there. And what now the white man did, the colonialist, to push his agenda, Sarah, he looked for a few chiefly families from northern, from Macholi, from Lango, and uprooted some of their children, brought them this way, got a bit of education, either retained them this way, or sent them back. But the rest of the people remained in a simple wilderness. Okay? Now, when the independence struggle was starting, the decolonization struggle was starting, Musazi hitting the road, others also jumped in. And those now started sharing all our experiences, tribulations and what have you. Then it is those experiences which influenced the UNC to form up a manifesto for 1958 elections. It is those experiences which influenced DP to form up a manifesto of 1958 elections, with the first one we had. Then later on, we opened up the Legico to more members in 1961, where from 10 now elected members, which we pushed to 80 elected members, 1961. But they were getting elected when they were articulating inherent positions, problems, challenges, and hopes we are facing. And indeed, the Democratic Party took over the first government. And when they took over the first government, they realized that education is key. And they had to mobilize about 300 to 500 scholarships, which they gave Uganda across tribe, across region, across what? To address that problem. Then also UPC was an understudy in the opposition politics of that time. And we said, oh, these ones, they're just getting scholarships and taking out people. For us, we shall get the scholarships, and at the same time, we shall train people from here. Whether it means to import people who will trade, we shall do it. Okay, but we are informed, and from that time, since we put all our issues in the manifesto and what have you, when we got elected into power, we sat down and came up with a development plan, which was in the spirit of our manifesto. And we moved to implement that development plan. The first 5-year development plan, then the second 5-year development plan, which we call Work for Progress, which had those 24 referral hospitals, the various schools, the roads which were extended and tarmacked from Kampala to Gulu, rail line extended from Soroti to Pakwach Bridge completed and built in 1969, the West Nile connected to Uganda, our tarmac extended to Kabale, Valley Dams in Karamoja, Valley Dams that side, ranches. All those sort of activities came when we are following our documents, our institutions we have laid down, working hand in hand with the local leadership and what have you. We did not take out the parliament from that very building to region. Yes. The northern region, yes, having been left out in, yes, very many aspects of, yes, development. Does it mean that this is now a visitation? If now, because we see that all these districts that, yes, make up the northern region have members of parliament that, yes, represent the areas. But does it mean that now this is a visitation where what the MPs have been talking about that happens in their constituencies and maybe has not been given a hearing, at least now from the president to the speaker to all the other legislators, they can see it physically? Okay, seeing is believing. But in this modern world, you can see from a distance. It doesn't need you to go physically there. Okay. That is one aspect. Two, most of the infrastructure which was fighting backwardness in northern Uganda and in the rest of the country, I must say this and I say it painfully, it was totally neglected during this leadership of our country ever since 1986. Remember, I've told you, northern eastern Uganda from Soroti to Pakwach, yeah, were connected by a rail line. Yes. Can you go there today and you find that rail line? Who took it away? Okay, these are pertinent issues. And what was the contribution of that rail line within the region and beyond the region? It was a gateway to the rest of the world. It was a gateway to the rest of Uganda. Okay, and why was it very strategic there? That is a huge cattle corridor linking Teso, linking Karamoja, linking Lango. But you pull out the rail line, and the meat factory was right in Soroti. Okay, such that in Kampala and the rest of the country they were getting processed products. Now that strong infrastructure, that strong investment was uprooted. And if you uproot it, how do you intend to address, to alleviate poverty? Instead, you are going to increase poverty, because cattle as itself was a very vital asset to all those communities, to all those societies. One, you are assured of milk. Two, you are assured of meat. Three, you are assured of cow dung, which fattens your gardens, your crops, and what have you. Four, you are assured of the ox, how do they call it? Ox power. Okay? You don't need a tractor. If you have about 5 bulls ready, you unleash them in the morning and they handle the gardening. Okay? So, all that socio-economic setup was somehow disrupted. Okay? And on top of that, there was a chain of cooperatives. Almost each region you go to, Bugisu Cooperative Union, yeah, Teso Cooperative Union, Acholi Cooperative Lion, Lango Cooperative Union, okay? And below them now, there was an embedded cotton belt It is unfortunate you have never visited those places. What you see as a cotton belt in America, this was a mini one, starting from Busembatia here, Busoga, going to Teso, going to Lango, going to Acholi, was a typical cotton belt. And today when you go there, you see the relics of that cotton belt. You are going to find Busembatia generally not functioning. You are going to see Arapai as you are getting out of Soroti. Then when you are heading to Kabula Maido, you are going to see Kabulubulu generally, one of the giant generalies. Then when you are entering Girango, you are going to see Arapai, Adokomiti. Okay? There are so many of those dotted in northern Uganda. They were part of that economy. Okay? And then the mighty Lira spinning mill. I don't know whether you have ever had the chance of visiting it. Okay? Very mighty, up and downstairs, underground. Russian gift. So, now, what is it you are going to bring to replace that or to resurrect that?
The president talked about things to do with the 4-acre model, and the speaker kept on saying there should be mechanization of agriculture in this region because literally there is nothing that cannot grow in northern Uganda. So is this a part of the solutions to revamp some of these things?
I happen to be a student of geography. And I happen to be a teacher of geography. And I happen to be a student of economics. And I happen to be a practicing politician. Now, when you bring all those programs, whether a myoga, whether what, there should be a catchment area. There should be an infrastructure. Okay, and that infrastructure, you build it, and then you co-opt players to fit in and start producing when the infrastructure is there. But as we are talking now, that infrastructure you roll out and people depend on it to produce this, to produce that, to produce this, is not there. For your point of information, this Busitema, it was the initiative of our efforts that we needed to do mechanized agriculture, and let us cooperate with our Russian friends, and they give us that institution to train us mechanization farming. Now, but Busitema has been hijacked. It is now a university. Yes. So that tractor you are talking about mechanizing, who is going to sustain it? Busitema was going to sustain it. Then in Teso, we had in Soroti like an equivalent of Vuguma, but making farm implements, ox plows, what, all these simple farm machinery. Where is that? Those are the sort of infrastructure I'm telling you. Our vision should be to restore that mechanization, institutes, organizations, and then you roll out. By the time you bring 1 or 2 tractors to the sub-counties or to the parishes, you already have an infrastructure to look after, to feed them, to sustain them. Now it is the whole setup is empty. It is lacking that. And remember, on top of that, we had the cooperative unions. And cooperative unions were embedded everywhere across the country. And since the cooperative unions were embedded across the country, they had a direct relationship with the farmer. Produce this, we are ready to buy it, we are ready to market it. Then also the cooperative unions themselves, they had also financial institutions managing them, like the cooperative bank, which was now putting money across for the crop finance. Are we having that infrastructure? Or you want us to produce and we face a dilemma of like a maize producers?
Does that mean that the efforts of looking for export market in countries like Kenya, countries like Egypt, and very many other countries is in vain as long as these systems are not re-established?
I may almost say like that I may actually jump on what you are trying to say, because you have to put the infrastructure. It is that infrastructure now which is going to give you momentum to produce, to process, and to market. Okay? Now, that when that infrastructure is missing, even if you are given an order instantly that supplies such and such amount of cotton or coffee, you may not have it, because where are the warehouses? The other time I was going to Bugerere, I think near Sezibwa you see a coffee factory, which I think it has been turned into even a secondary school or a school of that nature. Those are sort of situations where we are hit badly. Okay? The other time I think we are trying to export something to Sudan, Juba, and Juba said, your things are below standard. Okay? Your things are below standard. Why? That infrastructure I'm crying about, that infrastructure I'm talking about, okay, it is not there. And once it is not there, even if opportunities come for you to export, you may fail. Even if domestic opportunities come that supply this, we are in trouble. Okay? We are in trouble. Okay? We used to have produce marketing board with the centers across the country, with the main headquarters at Narukolongo there, where we people who stay in the neighborhood of Natete, Kaboja, what have you, we use it to enjoy. You find when they are refining beans, they say, these are not good, these are not good, these are not good. But they were still equally very good for our pots. Okay? Now that infrastructure is not there. And you find that in Narukolongo was in the heart of the railway connection from Kasese and from Kampala. Okay? And then there was outlets like in Jinja, Kazimingi, what, all that infrastructure we need it. Until you have that, this is when you can get things right. Okay. Otherwise, we shall continue getting things wrong. We shall continue moving the parliament across the country. Okay, when things are not going to work out.
Well, there is a lot of things that show up when it comes to, because you realize that according to especially the northern Uganda sitting, there was a meeting with the Boda leadership, then women's group, and in the sitting there are also some exclusive leaders that were part of the debates that were happening in the House. We want to see what should be the real message that these people carry, because we have 3 more sittings this year and in this financial year, and the Speaker promised that there will be every financial year there will be regional sittings. So as we look into even the next financial year, what should be the message that the locals should carry? We are taking a short commercial break. When we return, that's where we're picking it up from.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Family TV, enriching lives. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Welcome back from the break. This is Issues at Hand, and Adrian Osen Mukalas is my name, of course, for Luke Majumba Al-Naitwe. But we are looking at the message that should be carried out of these regional sittings. This was the first one, the one that was concluded last week on Friday, and surprisingly it ended into a very happy moment where people were merrymaking and dancing and jubilating. I don't know whether because of the victory they had achieved all and not. Mr. Lwanga, we saw the leader of opposition and his cabinet as saying that for them they are not part of the regional sittings. Why? Because they are going to spend a lot of taxpayers' money. However, critics come out to say that all this money was appropriated in the budget. Therefore, whether they go or not, the money will still be spent. Therefore, all they have to do is to go. But also we realized that there was a division. Some opposition members of parliament went, including MPs of the party you come from. And what does this mean for the opposition? Does it also show a bigger picture of divisionalism?
Thanks very much for that important question you are putting across. Of course, the taking of the halving of the concept of regional parliament was bound to have issues. It was bound to have issues in the first place that all the issues which have been raised, documented, noted, debated on several times, and a resolution is made, not much of them are implemented from Kampala here. Okay? And at the same time also, the parliamentarians are aware that June, July, they passed the new budget for 2020 for 2025. Yes. And anything outside the budget cannot be just merely captured. It means another financial year. So they knew that whatever is decided in Guru or in other regional conferences, they will be redundant, because the moment you try to fuse them in, they disrupt the entire budget process which you had agreed to. That was another aspect. Then the other aspect also, some of these issues come at a time when the timing is not very much appropriate. Of late, I think you have been seeing Parliament as an arm of government, as part of the government, has been receiving a lot of negative criticism. Yes. And this negative criticism has not put a relationship very, very clear. And also the people who are in charge of the parliament, all MPs, have also failed to come out with a convincing voice. The only aspect they talk about, this money or this item has been budgeted for. But they don't acknowledge that it is the poor, burdened Mr. Lwanga Christopher, who pays the tax and who is funding that. And in certain circumstances, honestly, you may consider some of the activities as luxury. Some of activities which can be deferred, okay, and say we can do this activity when the environment is allowing. So that element is still lacking in our way of thinking, and it causes a lot of those issues. So you may find some members of the opposition who did not go, or some very members on the ruling side who did not go, having that in mind, okay? The taxman pays money, however much you budget it, it is still a problem once it is not put to a priority. A taxpayer will not appreciate what you are doing when you are failing to take medical interns to their stations. And when you succeed to take a few, you say, I'm cutting off your budget from 2.5 million shillings to 1 million. Go and stay and for 1 year. Every month you'll get 1 million. A taxpayer starts getting disturbed. Where is our heart lying? Okay. Then if it is a question of taking parliament to the people, why don't we copy the proposal which UPC was trying to implement in 1971 elections of 1+3? I don't know whether you have ever heard of it.
Please elaborate it for our viewer to understand it very well.
Our leadership, all our times, realized that the colonial legacy we inherited, whatever we got from the departing British, they handed over us. They handed us over a burden, a luggage, which has divisions, which has local issues, which has regional issues, which has tribal issues. And everybody used to talk more in his constituency, more in the politics of his village, okay, such that we are not putting up a new image of Uganda. And the more we tried to move things, the more the divisions started becoming more apparent. So when we had the 1966 crisis, then the Republican Constitution of 1967, where again now it was churned out, one people, one government, one leader, one parliament, okay? We started now seeing that this thing, it should not stop from talking. It must be fully implemented. So through political thoughts, through hard thinking, through grand visionaries, we settled down for 1+3. Have a constituency which is primary from where you are born, whether it is northern Uganda, have it. Whether it is central, have it. Whether it is western, have it. But on top of that, get 3 more secondary constituencies in the rest of the regions. So get from north, get from the west, get from the east. Go and campaign in those constituencies. And when time for the polls comes, they will get the aggregates. And then you become an MP representing 4 regions. Okay? All 4 constituencies drawn from 4 regions. Then tell me how short are you going to be on Uganda? You are going to be very rich on Uganda. So that was the arrangement. We are going to have our April 1971 elections. And Etekere Jalu, who was the chairman of Electoral Commission, he was through with the preparations. And some of the campaigns had started even. Now, those who feared, those who did not wish Uganda well, they staged a coup on 25th January 1971. And we shelved that program. You could not ask anymore, about that program. Since it was given the parliament, banned the political parties. So I would implore the government, if they really think of how we can be more of nationalism, of patriots, of statesmen, to think of that formula.
Today,
Yes.
the parliament has over 529
Yes.
legislators.
Yes.
And the Electoral Commission was saying there are no reforms, because one of the reforms that the civil society organizations were bringing on board was reducing on the number of members of parliament. But they say up to the time they released the roadmap, no reform had been submitted to the Electoral Commission for consideration. So that means that this number might not get low. It might even increase if maybe there is a new constituency that is formed. But do you think that that can be applicable in such a situation where we now have we have 529 legislators?
If you want to apply 1+3.
Yes.
If you want to apply 1+3, you need to sober down, to sober up, and you need to consolidate. Okay, like the way he's talking about the 4-acre thing. He's saying, you know, this 4-acre thing, I'm tired of people who have fragmented the land in Kigezi, what. Let them come together. Even us Ugandans as taxpayers, we are tired of a very bigger parliament. The parliament should be narrowed down. And if you really feel that 1+3 can work, can do the magic, go for it. Because you are building a better Uganda.
Does that mean that some constituencies need to be merged?
Yes, they need to be merged. For instance, I can give you an example. I used to belong to a district like Mpigi. And the district like Mpigi, it has been broken into additional 3 districts. Yeah. This is Gomba, this is Butambala, this is Wakiso. But previously all that was under Mpigi. And in 1980, I think Mpigi had about 4 constituencies. Okay. If we can go back to that type of arrangement, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad, because why should you have a bigger parliament of that nature where you cannot even brainstorm national issues adequately, because everybody is supposed to be given a limited opportunity to comment or to talk, and where you cannot even fit in one room? What is the essence? Okay, what is the essence? So we have to be sober. Having a parliament of 500 people will not help us. Okay, and what you are now seeing is that because we have cut the parliament so much, reduced it into very small areas, most of the people who are there in parliament, they are talking those small issues. They are not talking a bigger Uganda. They are not talking a bigger Wakiso. Okay? They are not talking a bigger Lango sub-region. We have retreated into our small cocoons, and we are continuing to retreat. In English, they call it Balkanization. The more you get Balkanized, the more weaker you become. You cannot perform. You don't have the energy. You don't have the stamina. Some of the things in economics, they come as a result of economies of scale. Now our economies of scale are getting more and more undermined each day. Okay? To the extent that you will find a local unit, whether it is Butambala, it cannot run a grader. Even when it is given a grader, they will say we don't have fuel. We don't have tire. Others, you find that they are housed in other districts. Okay, so you find that there is a mess. Because we have broken. Okay? And let me say this, and say it very well. Me, I have liked church institutions. You find that their dioceses are more viable. And they don't wake up overnight that we cut out this, we cut out this. They have the infrastructure, they have everything, and they are moving. Okay. Now, for a country to be reducing itself into threads, okay, and then the next day you face a giant from Tanzania, you face a giant from Kenya, you will be dwarfed, you will be given a knockout.
I think the sense in which this is to ease service delivery.
No, it messes it up.
How?
It messes it up, because the more maybe the good example I can give is Mpigi. Mpigi used it to own Ntebe.
Yes.
Mpigi used it to own Wakiso.
Yes.
Mpigi used it to own Butambala.
Yes.
Mpigi used it to own Gomba.
Yes.
Now you took away Entebbe, you took away Wakiso. What did you leave Mpigi with? Okay? What did you leave Mpigi with which can generate income? Where Mpigi can rely that this is my fat cow. The fat cow was taken away. Go to Butambala, go to Gomba, what is there? Even if they are very good producers of, is it Jinga and Tangawuzi, the capacity to add on, the capacity to produce more is weakened because they have been broken away from Mpigi. Now, which service delivery are you talking about? Okay, those people in our days, we earmarked them Gombe Hospital. Now, what hospital is Mpigi having? What is
Mpigi General Hospital?
It is not enough. It is not an equivalent
To Gombe.
of Gombe. Okay, what hospital is Gombe having? Okay, these are sort of situations we are talking about. Okay, you balkanize, you make areas very smaller, areas under resourced, they can't pull through. And at the same time you are in East Africa, at the same time you have opened up our trade. I had an opportunity when I was working in Zambia, for the sake of curiosity or even a resource consideration, I could take a road from Uganda to Mutukula or to Nairobi, then to Dar es Salaam, then jump in the train, move up to Zambia. And you could see gardens of just Tanzanians who are doing cooperative farming. And those gardens now are producing Irish potatoes, which are much cheaper in Uganda. They are producing onions, which are much cheaper than the onions in Uganda. They are producing everything, and you could find a garden of beans. Let me say from here where we are to Kampala Road, beyond Natet, it is one. And for the ordinary people in the village. Now, when those people start harvesting, compare them with ours. That's why now their products are coming here and they are very cheap.
Yeah.
Okay, because of those large economies of scale I've been talking about. And they still have the infrastructure of the cooperative movement. But we don't have it. Okay, so you cannot blame, you cannot fight, you cannot put up a better fight with such type of people who are producing massively with an infrastructure.
Now that the Gulu sitting is
Yes.
done, we have 3 more sittings.
Yes.
For to the end of this financial
Yes.
year, and we are expecting another round of sittings in the next financial year,
Yeah.
as per the speaker. But what can we learn from Gulu that we might not? Okay, the mistakes that happened in Gulu that might be corrected when it gets to Masakao, Mbarara, or Jinja in the next roundup of sittings.
I think I wanted the government to be very honest and to everybody to be very honest. Northern Uganda is a unique case. One, it was a victim of colonial legacy. It was underdeveloped by design of the British. Okay? Then when our government was trying to patch up things, and indeed patched up things, okay, then there was this political confusion of coming in and pulling down the development of the entire country. And not only pulling down the development of the entire country, targeting some of our brothers in the northern Uganda.
Are those the mistakes the president kept on referring to?
Yes, they are more endemic than what meets the eye. Who was there conspiring with Amin to overthrow the government? Okay? And who was there telling Amin that if you don't squeeze these people hard enough, you are gone? And when I was doing my research, I came across somewhere where an Israeli officer asked that have you managed to get hold of this younger officer? And mentioned the name. And the name happened to be David Oito Joko. So he was told, no, we haven't. Then he told them this coup has not succeeded.
Because Oito
Joko is free. You have not managed to capture him. But there were several Oito Jokos, so I mean, he went for them. And that created the underdevelopment again in the post-independence Uganda. Then from there, we had the Konyi War, Lakwena War, UPDF, and what have you, those wars, again affecting an area which had already been underdeveloped. And when now we came to address the real issues, when the war ended, the NUSAF 1, NUSAF 2, NUSAF 3 were not adequate enough. This is what the speaker hinted, that the Marshall Plan for northern Uganda after the war was not enough. So we are going to learn a lot of lessons, that an area which has had a civil war for a very long time, it takes long to recover. And if it is to recover, it needs more affirmative action. And you will see that what is happening in northern Uganda is not very much different from Luwero Triangle. There are some aspects they share. And now the government, since it has taken the parliament there, and it has seen the underdevelopment, and the people who have come on top, on the surface, that we have never received the compensation for our animals. We have never received the, we are war victims. Where is the payment? That payment has not yet come. Okay, so those are the sort of things they must move. And when they see now the people, the way the state they are in, it is not a question of taking them cotton seed implements. It is not the question of taking them hoes and they start off. Their lives need to be rehabilitated. Okay, and they need to be told that you are part of the greater Uganda. Like the case before, because Uganda was built mainly on two cash crops. Yeah. This is coffee and cotton. Much of the cotton was coming from the north, and the cotton and the coffee was coming from the south. They were part of the greater Uganda. So now this war, which affected all that, we have to do more affirmative action.
Lastly, as we wind up, what are your closing remarks? Because I see our time is almost out, even when we would want to continue with this discussion.
My closing remarks would be, let them continue doing that. But at the same time, they must explain the people that these issues we are identifying, they are not going to be handled today or tomorrow. They are for the future. Okay? And when they don't explain to that, the people of northern Uganda will wait for their money, will wait for better roads, will wait for what? And if you don't deliver, you suffer at the ballot. Okay, so they must not raise so much expectations of the people. Okay, they must try to tell them that we are on a real fact-finding mission. And this fact-finding mission could even have been done to Kampala, but we have changed the strategy for the sake of the country to see how now we can integrate you, we can have that feel with you, you can also share your experiences with us, okay? Like that manner, we are trying to take the parliament to the people. But we have to be very cautious. And the moment they discover all these issues, some questions should be asked. Is it the central government which went on, which is left on duty? Is it the local government which is left on the duty? There is somewhere where somebody has been sleeping on the duty. Central government, executive, or local government. These issues should be established. And then we have a big animal now in Uganda. This is the corruption. Is it corruption which is denying people development? What is it? We would like these regional meetings to come out with those magic answers, magic formulas. Because there is something which is not working. Okay? There is something which is not working. Local government is not working, central government is not working, line ministries are not working. That's why we are now fetching solutions, okay, from the people. People brief us. We have now crossed protocol, talk. We have brought to the parliament here, talk. Okay, talk. So these are some of the serious issues which we are having in the country. And it is unprecedented that Parliament has started moving across the country, and it will continue and cover the 4 parts of the country. Maybe it will give the country a rhythm that we need to amalgamate our country. We need to have this sort of arrangement where we are dealing with a bigger thing. And Northern Uganda has been a testing experiment. Wherever they have one of their national leaders dying, they always have regional meetings. Yeah. Okay, all councillors will come, all MPs will come. Maybe a proper regionalism will come from there. I'm seeing you are being warned with time.
We pray that that comes. But thank you so much, Mr. Lwanga, and greetings to the entire team that you work with at Uganda People's Congress. And to your viewer, thank you so much. You who started with us and you are still watching Church of Uganda Family TV. We've come to the end of issues at hand, but the day is still so fresh. We have a lot more throughout the entire day, up to the night where we shall come back with Family Hour. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name of Brinko and Muhumuza. From the entire team, have a blessed day.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV.